Well, I respect the move, but the entire thing has been a witch hunt.
Just this morning, in an interview with the New York Times, he called it a witch hunt.
And it's a disgraceful situation. It's a total witch hunt. I've been saying it for a long time.
You have Rush Limbaugh and Hannity and Lou Dobbs and other, well, not so much Lou Dobbs, but others saying, oh, this is tremendous. This is the white hat. Michael Horowitz is a white hat, and he's come and look at the way that he's revealing the corruption in the Mueller investigation. Okay, don't get too excited, folks. If you've ever been in the military, if you've ever worked with corporate or military intelligence, then you know that what the IG is. The IG is the most corrupt person in whatever organization he is the inspector general of. That's the most corrupt person there. That's the person who is going to give a report that does nothing, that doesn't indict anyone, that doesn't even make any recommendations, and they're going to give it to the head of whatever there's an IG for every department. So there's an IG for the Department of Justice, an IG for the FBI, the IG for the Department of Defense, all of these IGs. What do? Let me give an example, and then we'll go into why Michael Horowitz is a black hat. Put about 3 black hats on top of that head, because what we're going to describe to you is another person that has been slithering through the what we'd call the deep state channels, being placed in one job after the next, hardly ever holding a job for a year, and then being placed in this very high position, which he doesn't deserve to be in, the Inspector General of the Department of Defense. And he's already as crooked as can be, and we'll tell you about that. But let's just look at the IG report in 2016 on the FISA court. It said clearly, for anyone who took the time to read it, which I did, I read the whole thing, it said that the FBI and specifically counterintelligence in the FBI is 100% in noncompliance. In other words, they're breaking the Section 702 rules. They're breaking the rules for the FISA court horribly. They don't even get FISA court warrants. So all of you out there who are all excited that you're going to find out because Jim Johnson or Trey Gowdy demands to know... I think
you're talking about Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan or Trey Gowdy demand to know who put in the FISA court request. It doesn't matter. The FBI and counterintelligence in the FBI don't even take the time to do the requests. And it has been shown that every single American is being surveilled. So why would anyone ever question Donald Trump saying he's being wiretapped? You would have to be an ignoramus to assert such stupidity after James Clapper was caught red-handed testifying lies to the Congress that no American is surveilled according to his knowledge, or at least not consciously. And then he has to come back later and say, no, every single American is surveilled at all times.
Are you telling me there isn't a FISA warrant there that was signed by the court, that they were just spying on him?
Doesn't need to be.
FBI General Counsel James Baker. He was there when Comey was there, and McCabe and all that. So he was part of the investigative team of Hillary Clinton in the email thing. So he told Congress that he believed that Mrs. Clinton should be indicted, all right? That at the end he wavered, but he thought, the quote is, the nature and scope of the classified information to me initially, when I looked at it, I thought these folks should know this stuff is classified, that it was alarming what they were talking about, especially some of the most highly classified stuff. He said they should have been prosecuted.
President Trump has informed FBI Director James Comey that he has been terminated and removed from office.
Now the FBI has fired embattled agent Peter Strzok over anti-Trump text.
New out tonight from Axios, they're reporting that Attorney General Jeff Sessions has pressured FBI Director Christopher Wray to fire Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. Wray balked at this, reportedly threatened to resign if McCabe was removed.
Lisa Page and Peter Strzok are showing the country how guilty people behave. Lisa Page ignored a congressional subpoena, just like she ignored her obligation to conduct herself at the FBI free from the type of bias that we saw reflected over and over again. The Inspector General has already said that the bias of Lisa Page and Peter Strzok cast a cloud over their investigative activities, and I think the American people deserve answers.
An FBI lawyer who made headlines for exchanging critical text messages with an FBI agent regarding President Trump has resigned. The Department of Justice recently implicated Lisa Page in its probe of misconduct during the Clinton and Trump investigations. Page had spent the past few months reassigned to less powerful positions. Now, she briefly served on Robert Mueller's team. She reports that she had carried on an affair with agent Peter Strzok, who was also recently demoted. Republicans in Congress have accused them of being Clinton supporters while overseeing her email investigation, and that it is evidence the Russia probe is biased against Trump.
Good day, everyone. We're coming on the air with breaking news. A verdict has been reached in the trial of the man known as El Chapo, Joaquin Guzman, for years the most powerful and notorious leader of the Sinaloa drug cartel. Guzman, who is 61, has been on trial in New York City under heavy security since mid-November after being extradited from Mexico in 2017. It was quite a startling trial. Stories of murder, of the rape of little girls, of slush funds essentially to pay off government officials. This is somebody who was once on the Forbes billionaires list. How significant is this prosecution and this guilty verdict?
Well, it's huge for a couple of reasons. One is just from the criminal justice perspective. The jury actually had an 8-page ballot to fill out, not only the 10 counts, but sub-points within the counts that will lead to how big his sentence is. Rahema pointed out that he faces a maximum of life in prison. That's because when the Mexican authorities agreed to extradite him to the U.S. said they would not try him with any capital counts that could lead to the death penalty, even though there was ample evidence, the prosecutor said, that he had directed a large number of killings in Mexico of potential threats.
Well, the Vatican has expelled a former U.S. cardinal from the priesthood over allegations he sexually abused minors. Theodore McCarrick lost the title of cardinal back in July. Now he's become the highest-ranking figure to be defrocked in recent memory. Megan Williams is in Rome with the latest.
Theodore McCarrick, who is now 88 years old, has been defrocked. And this is one of the most extreme, or probably the most extreme moves the Catholic Church can take against a cleric. He was stripped of being a cardinal last summer, and that's in the wake of years of allegations of sexual misconduct and abuse. He was known within the Vatican dating back to the 90s as someone that young priests should stay away from. And so this is a case of the Vatican and Pope Francis in particular showing that he is taking seriously the abuse of minors by those highest up in the Catholic Church. We have seen more than 800 priests defrocked in the past 10 years or so, a little bit more. But we have not seen higher-ups defrocked over the sex abuse issue. And he's the first person who has been defrocked over the sex abuse issue ever.
This was the news that absolutely rocked the NFL world Friday morning. Jupiter Police in Florida announced that Patriots owner Robert Kraft was one of 25 men allegedly soliciting prostitution in a months-long sting operation that was targeting human trafficking. Aside from legal discipline, Kraft is also subject to discipline from the NFL under the personal conduct policy. Now, a lot of people think that that just applies to players. It actually applies to everyone: owners, executives, NFL media, people at NFL Network. If you're under the NFL umbrella, you're under that personal conduct policy. In fact, language in the policy states that ownership are held to a higher standard. That means that if the league did find that Kraft violated the policy, the penalty he could face could be quite severe. Now, the league is taking a cautious approach, at least initially. I fully expect them to launch their own investigation at some point, but for right now, they told me in a statement that right now they're aware of the matter and that they're basically just sitting back and monitoring developments. The last owner to get suspended by the NFL was Jim Irsay of the Colts. Back in September of 2014, the league suspended him 6 games, fined him $500,000 after he pleaded guilty for driving under the influence of painkillers. Now, I would expect that if the league finds that Kraft did have any involvement in this case, if they find that he had wrongdoing, that would sort of be the baseline I would expect, because while Irsay's case was absolutely serious and deserved a lot of attention, this one is a little bit more grave just because of the human trafficking element, and this is definitely something the league does not want one of its most prominent figures involved in.
Another disturbing headline, this one involving singer R. Kelly. Just weeks after millions watched that alarming documentary, tonight an arrest warrant has now been issued for R. Kelly. He faces 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse, 4 women, at least 3 of whom were teenagers. He has survived charges before, but tonight, after that Lifetime program called Surviving R. Kelly, authorities made a plea to any potential victim to come forward. Tonight, R. Kelly's attorney says his client is, quote, shell-shocked by the charges and will turn himself in tonight. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Tonight, R. Kelly turning himself into police in Chicago. After being dogged by allegations of sexual misconduct for decades, the self-proclaimed king of R&B now faces criminal charges.
Earlier today, Robert Kelly was indicted before a Cook County grand jury on 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse involving 4 victims.
3 of those alleged victims between the ages of 13 and 17 at the time. Late today, attorney Michael Avenatti claiming that he provided a crucial break in the case against Kelly, turning over a videotape to prosecutors that he says shows the singer having sex with a 14-year-old girl around 1999.
Repeatedly on the video, both the victim and Mr. Kelly refer to the victim's age as being 14.
Well, I was shocked. I mean, I think this is Gestapo-like tactics. I mean, what's the point in having all of these armed police with riot gear bursting into a house at 7 a.m., wife and Roger in bed? I mean, this is not America. This is not the way we treat people in America who are basically trying just to be political operatives who are earning a living. And, I mean, it frightens me to think what the FBI could do bursting into my home with my wife asleep and the family asleep. There's no need for it. And I think increasingly that we're seeing an out-of-control Mueller operation that is determined to terrorize people and criminalize politics. I think it's very frightening for the direction of America.